The Bambu Lab X1 Carbon, a machine that has taken the industry by storm. I have owned mine for 1 month today, and well, things really haven't gone as planned. So let's talk about some of my favorite things and some of my less than favorite things about the Bambu Lab X1 Carbon. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, hi! I'm actually not a Bambu hater. I just hate this machine. We're gonna get into why here in just a bit. But stay tuned, leave a like, get subscribed if you're not, and we'll get right into this after we tell you about our sponsor, 3D Musketeers. Remember, if you want to get high quality 3D printing services that are going to be way more reliable than my current Bambu Lab X1 Carbon, you can reach out to the pros at 3D Musketeers. With over 40 printers and over 40 years of combined experience, we know how to get your ideas from art to part as quickly as possible with a little bit of cash out of pocket. We have experts in all different fields, including additive manufacturing, mechanical and electrical engineering, as well as process design and injection molding design. So when we say we can help you from art to part, we really mean it. We also have high-end 3D scanning services utilizing our Tech 3D scanners, as well as some others, one of which you'll see here very soon. And we do a lot of custom development as well. Keep an eye out because we're going to be releasing a product here relatively soon. But if you do want to support the efforts that we do here at the channel, you can do so by kicking us a couple of bucks into that creator fund every month by joining Patreon or YouTube channel members, which are both linked in the description down below. But if you don't have any money to spend, totally understand. A like, comment, subscribe, and share go a long way to helping this video reach others, including those that are going to leave inflammatory comments about how much I'm a terrible person. That's the way it goes sometimes. The internet is what it is, and I can delete comments. So, have fun. Anyways, let's get talking about this machine. I'm gonna start with things that I like, because I think it's prudent that we talk about some of the good things that have happened before I get into the bad. There's a lot of bad, but I've boiled it down into a few that are really bothering me that at this point makes me believe I've got a printer that's got a problem. But this thing is the fastest printer that I own. I have never seen a printer before that can do 200 millimeter a second exterior walls and still get the quality that this machine has. Now, mind you, I've never built a Voron machine, and if you do want to see that, let me know in the comments below. Maybe we'll see if we can head over to LDO, see if we can make something happen. This thing is insane. It is the fastest machine that we have in the shop by far. Unless we're really running all the resin printers, then I can beat it. Resin can be faster than this, and the quality can be better, but the materials are considerably more expensive as well. When this thing does print well, the quality is amazing, especially when you consider the speed on it. It uses a vibration compensation system, which you see on the start of every print, where the machine sounds like something that you might find in your bedside table rather than an actual 3D printer. It works. The machine has accelerometers in it that are able to measure the resonant vibrations that are produced during that and compensate for them. This is more commonly known as input shaping, where it is literally changing the frequencies and signals that go to the stepper motors so that it reduces ringing to basically zero. It's pretty cool. But it does scare me from time to time when I run it, because I'm not always expecting it. None of the other printers in the shop actually do that. I will say its fit and finish is pretty nice. There are very few printers out there that have this kind of fit and finish with glass on the front, glass on the top, and just parts that look like they could legitimately land inside of a normal person's house or inside of a business. It's got it where it counts, at least when it comes to looks. But as we know, beauty is only skin deep, and she's got some skeletons in her closet. We're gonna get into those in just a bit. I will say the touchscreen interface is really easy to use, and the entire wiki that Bambu has set up makes maintenance a little bit easier. I just wish I didn't have to do it as often as I've been having to do it. But when it is time to do that maintenance, the machine lets you know. And with the recent firmware update, it even reminds you to go ahead and clean off the carbon rails, as they can get some VOC deposits on them from materials like ABS and ASA. I love that the machine has a built-in filtration system, although I find it to be lackluster at best. But really, the piece that brings it all together for me is Bambu Studio. I did not think that I was going to like it. I'm a Prusa Slicer fanboy. As you guys know, I love Prusa. I have 13 of their machines, and I'm not stopping getting more. Bambu Studio has surprised me. Not only are they adding features incredibly quickly, it is fully open source. Now, there were some struggles in the beginning to get it to be open source, and some BS excuses as far as I'm concerned. But now that it is open source, the community in general is benefiting from it. Bambu Lab is directly responsible for the step file input that we have in Prusa Slicer. Because they developed it, and because it's open source, Prusa was able to directly implement it into Prusa Slicer, which is pretty darn cool. That is only good for the industry. I will say their implementation of tree supports is very similar to that of the organic supports inside of Prusa Slicer, and Bambu has had it for quite some time. And they work pretty good. I'm happy with them. I love the interface where I can directly connect to the printer, I can send it files over the network, and it will even alert me on my desktop if there is a problem. The Bambu Studio ecosystem allows me to be a little bit more lenient about the walled garden that this machine has. And on that topic, let's get into some of the things that I'm not a fan of. That walled garden. Having proprietary materials and parts mean that all the spare parts that I have laying around are of no use to this machine. While there are aftermarket hot ends that exist that do have an M6 thread, they're obviously not going to be supported by Bambu Lab anytime soon. I will say they are incredibly communicative with the community at large, but there are some hoops that they require you to jump through. You all might have noticed this code that is sitting on my machine. Bambu Lab is requiring me to put this code in a video so that I can get a new fan for my machine. Now, it didn't need to be this video, but come on. We're gonna do that. The motherboard fan on my printer has a bad bearing, and after sitting out here and giving it the old Fonzie trick by smacking the crap out of it, it has finally calmed down and I can film this video. But we'll roll a little bit of footage so you guys can hear what it actually sounds like. It's deafeningly loud. Speaking of which, this machine is quite literally the loudest machine that I have. And even though our Lulzbot Taz 6 still has the worst piercing sound, this thing blows it out of the water for sound. In fact, I've installed a muffler or suppressor system on the back of the printer to try to quiet down that chamber fan, because it is so loud that I'm not able to have the chamber fan on 100% when I go to film, because it is actually picked up by my microphone over 10 feet away. And we use a dynamic microphone with a cardioid pickup pattern, which means it rejects a lot of background noise, but not enough to deal with this thing. While I love the glass on it, it also makes the printer really, really difficult to work on. I can't describe how many times I've whacked my head on the glass here, and it is nice to have a fully enclosed build chamber, but when I have to leave the door open to print PLA, that kind of sucks. Some people will actually remove the top glass or put a riser on it, but my intention for this machine is to print more high temp materials rather than PLA and other low temp materials. I will say, as the inside of the printer shows, I think I've got a lemon. And I say that because not only is it not successfully printing lemons unless they're this crazy lime color, but because I've had lemons dropping on the floor. But also outright failures that the machine didn't catch, pure spaghetti that the AI failed to even acknowledge, and at least 15 hours of my time going through and dealing with clogged cold ends, which, as you can see, this cold end is properly clogged, which has happened over a dozen times with different materials, different manufacturers, different batch numbers, and even utilizing Bambu's own orange PLA has gotten jammed in this machine. I have gone through 2 extruders. My front tool head cover is completely messed up. The magnets don't stay in it, so the darn thing falls off half the time when it's printing. This printer is a lemon. And hilariously, if I wanted a lemon that actually looked like a lemon, I had to print it on my Prusa, because all the ones that Bambu did failed. And it's more than just this. How about a Benchy in PLA? Look at this Benchy. This was stock speeds, stock everything. This is not acceptable quality. Stevie Wonder could tell you that. Heck, even trying to make spool rings for my favorite filament, Jesse PLA and Jesse PETG from Printed Solid, completely failed at printing the spool rings. PLA, PETG, PLA, so many failures. So many headaches. I have a lemon. I know so many people that have had great experiences with this machine. And honestly, when it prints parts, they look great. But I shouldn't have to print a part that the hot end fits into to clear a jam using an Allen key. This is stupid, and I've identified why this is a problem. When the machine goes to unload filament, whether it's jammed or not, it cuts the filament. And if the material is jammed in the hot end for some reason, you've just created a cold end jam for yourself. And maybe, just maybe, the anemic stepper motor that is used on the extruder might be able to push that thing through. But chances are, it's just gonna grind your filament. And cleaning it out, while not all that difficult, and there is a great tutorial on the Bambu Lab wiki, is time consuming. And a very slight annoyance for me requires 2 different sizes of hex keys to do it. I've gotten good at it for all the wrong reasons. I can swap an extruder in less than 2 minutes. I hate that. And the only reason I can do it that fast is because I've done it so many times. And dealing with support has been troublesome. They made me have a code in a video so that they know I'm not scamming them. And while that doesn't say anything about support, it says a lot about the users, in that the users have taken advantage of support providing them with a voucher rather than the part, where people are complaining about random problems to get free money from support. And to be clear, I have machines very close to the 6-figure mark, and those companies don't require it. 3D Systems doesn't require me to have a code in a video to get parts because they know what my serial number is. Stratasys doesn't require me to do that on my PolyJet because they know what my serial number is and they trust me. If Bambu is having an issue with user fraud, that's more of a user problem and not a me problem. This is an unnecessary hoop. And while I understand it's not that big of a deal, it's one more little annoyance that I have to deal with. Spool compatibility. This thing only fits spools of a certain size, a certain diameter, and a certain width. If you want to run other spools, you have to print risers for the AMS that make your spools sit up quite high. And if your spool is too wide, you have to make adapter rings. And oh yeah, if it's a cardboard spool, you gotta put rings on it anyways, because the wheels on the AMS will chew up that cardboard, putting that dust everywhere, clogging up your AMS. This is just poor design. And before you say, well, why don't manufacturers go back to plastic spools? It's because they're one of the worst problems in this industry. There is so much wasted plastic in these spools that is generally not recycled. Now, the rings that we have printed for the printed solid spools are completely removable and fit on their cardboard and their plastic spools. So I'm actually quite happy about that. All the files for these are actually available at the $5 tier or higher in our Patreon. So if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, go over there and take a look. And while they do work, this machine just hates Jessie filament. Every Jessie filament that I've put in it just jams it. The Yellowbird down here, complete and utter failure multiple times, as you can see. And the funny thing about this print, it really did spaghetti quite bad. When it recovered is when the machine alerted me to spaghetti detection. It was the first time it has ever done that. Crazy to me. I firmly believe I have a lemon. But I'm not gonna push Bambu Lab for a replacement. I'm gonna let support do what support does. And if they believe it's time for a replacement, I'll get one. But until then, I've got a $1,600 paperweight as far as I'm concerned for my business. Now, to be clear, I did pay for this machine relatively quickly. It did some parts for a client that completely paid for the printer. But it was not without its challenges. I had over half a dozen fails in those 9 prints alone. And that is a real problem, especially when you're batting less than 40% of the jobs that I've sent to this machine have completed. And before you start typing in the comments about how much of an idiot that I am, you should know I've been doing this for 15 years. I was building 3D printers before a lot of you even knew what 3D printing was. And that's not to sit here and stroke my ego about it, but I don't work with companies like the Smithsonian and people like Snoop Dogg for no reason. I'm known for my quality, and so is my company. This machine has problems. At least it does for me. Now I can say I know some amazing people that have gotten amazing prints out of this machine, and I would love to give it the chance that it deserves. But we gotta do some repairs first. So this coming Saturday, join me as we do a live stream to fix this machine. We're gonna replace the motherboard fan, we're gonna replace the tool head cover, we're going to clean out the machine, we're gonna take a look at it. And I've got new boards to replace the broken tool head boards that have occurred during repair of the printer itself. We're gonna do a lot of that, and it's gonna be an AMA structured around my experiences in the 3D printing industry and just kind of a hangout stream. So if you guys wanna come over to that, I'd love to have you. Be a lot of fun. It's incredibly ironic to me that I've been one of the more critical content creators about this machine. From the beginning that their company started, I talked about things like QC and QA issues. I talked about them ramping up their staff. Bambu Lab is hiring support all over the globe. If you want to help them out, go apply. I know they're hiring. And that's great. I'm happy for them. But they've had customer problems go like this, while their staff have only gone like this. And if you don't have the two of them go up at the same slope, you end up with a very unique problem. You either have too many staff to handle the few issues that you have, or you have way too many issues for the small staff that you have. And unfortunately, they're dealing with the latter. This is a common problem when you look at scaling a business. I will say, I'm not really printing on this machine anymore. I've tried. In fact, last night I did this lemon print, which just released from the support. Not bad, but I can only do it in this, and actually failed near the top. I thought it was funny to have the printer that I think is a lemon print lemons, but it couldn't even do that reliably. I think there's a lot that could be done to fix the problems on this machine. Things like, if it believes it's jammed, ask the user if it's jammed. If it notices spaghetti, check to make sure that it's not jammed first. It would be awesome to have a feeding mechanism that detects a filament is rolling. I thought it had one, but if it does, mine certainly isn't working. Because I've had a lot of jams where the machine doesn't even know that it's messed up. Because if you are jammed and you cut the filament, we've got a problem. If you give me the ability to pull the filament out myself, as in go ahead and turn all the extruders completely off. And by the way, there is an extruder inside the AMS and an extruder inside of the hot end. And there's a buffer system on the back that actually holds a small amount of filament. So you're not constantly pulling on the roll up here. You only pull on it once in a while. That's a really cool feature. I kind of love it. It's a great implementation. And I will say the failover, you put two of the same color in, is amazing. I love it. This AMS, outside of the stream, has actually been pretty rock solid. The issues that I deal with are incompatibility with spools. And that's more on the design of the AMS, not the function of it. I'm not happy, and I really wanted to be. I wanted to come up here and eat some humble pie in front of everyone and say, you know, I was wrong. These machines are awesome, but I'm not. Mine isn't. I know those of you that are currently typing out comments, most of you have probably had a great experience, and I'm happy for you, but mine's been a little bit different than yours. That doesn't make me wrong, it doesn't make you wrong, it makes my machine wrong. So hopefully we're gonna get this thing resolved. But I will say, I have really struggled with this machine and spent way more time than I think is reasonable. Over half an hour a day I have spent working on this machine, when you tally up all the totals. And like, I took this thing to a public event, and the two prints that it needed to do. In fact, one of them was this astronaut print. This print, it did the night before. Gorgeous print, a lot of ringing, but a gorgeous print overall. Completely support free, by the way. We'll link to this in the description. I printed this on the machine. It was not on the SD card. It was not on the print queue. It was not in any of the history for this machine at all when I arrived to my event. And I'm on the new firmware, which is supposed to fix that problem. When I was printing the lemons, the exact same thing happened. I printed a different part. It was these rings. They all failed, so I walked away from it and I went back to printing lemons. There was no lemons on the card anymore. I've got the actual time lapses of it, but I don't have the lemons. I had to manually send the file rather than just print the file. So there's still some tweaks that need to be done. It's a firmware thing. It's a relatively easy fix, I believe, but I'm not someone that has the capacity to do it. This printer has so much potential. So let's sum it up. I love the speed. I love the quality. I love the fit and finish. It looks damn good. I love how easy it is to use, and I love the integration with Bambu Studio. But I hate the walled garden. I absolutely despise the amount of noise this thing creates. It is truly a headache monster for sure. Do not have this printer anywhere near your bedroom if you have it in your house. I hate all the maintenance that I have to do on it. Even though the wiki covers pretty much everything that I would need, it did not cover putting the magnets back in the cover. And none of the things that I've done have ever worked. And I also really don't like dealing with support. I should not have to do this. And I understand it's not that big of a deal, but it's a principle thing more than it is a real problem. Again, I want to love this printer. I think it's got a lot of potential. No matter if Bambu Lab is successful or they ultimately have to fold, this printer is good for the industry as a whole. It lets companies know that consumers are willing to pay more money if they get better quality, if they get better speed, if they get better reliability. These are all things that we need to see get pushed in the community. And printers like the SV06 from Sovol and the new SV06 Plus, the Elegoo Neptune 3, Pro, Plus, and Max, as well as other machines from major manufacturers, are starting to have a lot of the features that we see in the Bambu. While they're still keeping their prices relatively low, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. I believe there are still some things to be worked out. I thought waiting, I believe around 8 months since the machine came out, would be enough for Bambu Lab to get their act together. Unfortunately, lemons still slip by, just like the ones that have fallen on the floor through the video. It leaves me wanting more and expecting more, especially when I have so much money invested into this machine. And sure, I have machines that are well over an order of magnitude more expensive than this that we use all the time in the shop. But from what I heard from everybody else, I should just throw away the rest of my print farm and get a half a dozen of these. From my experiences so far, I want to take my buddy up who wants to pay me $1,600 to fill it full of tannerite and give it the old Florida man treatment, because I'm about done. I've seen some people out there that have had issues. Some are very obviously the user. Some look like they're more of a hardware problem. And while Bambu has fixed things like the overflow problems, AMS feeder issues, there are still quite a few mods that I recommend that you do to your printer to ensure proper printing prowess, including the muffler on the back and the PTFE guide for the tool head itself. And we'll link to all of those in the description down below, all available on Prusa's printables. You know, something that Prusa doesn't charge you for, that all of you probably use. And I think really the big thing that kind of rustles my jimmies the wrong way is the way that this machine has seemed to completely separate this industry from Bambu Lab lovers and Bambu Lab haters, or supposed haters. And it's very much a them versus us or us versus them mentality. I don't have any ill will against Bambu. They made a hell of a splash in this industry. I'm told that they're working on a big printer. I would love to have a bigger build volume than this. And I'm told the P1P solves some of the issues of the X1 Carbon, which is weird, but okay. And maybe we'll get one in to take a look at. But as it currently stands, unless Bambu Lab wants to send me one for review, I'm not spending any more money. I'm hopeful for what the future holds for Bambu Lab and the 3D printing industry as a whole. Let me know in those comments below what you want to see come to the Bambu ecosystem or the ecosystem of 3D printing in general. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit different and a little ranty, but I know that's what some of you are here for. But stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. One last thing before you go. Make sure to pet your pets a little more often. Give them an extra treat. There's been quite a few makers in the community that have lost their pets, and it was a request that we put it into a video. So be good to your pets. I'm gonna give Victoria a little bit of love when this is all over. She deserves it, and so do your pets. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. And a massive thank you goes out to all of our Patreon and YouTube channel member supporters whose names are listed right next to me at the $5 tier and higher. Thank you for all that you guys do to make this kind of thing possible. Remember, if you want to join our groups, come hang out with us, you can do so by heading over to Patreon and YouTube channel members, joining for the $5 tier and higher to get your name in the videos, and the $10 tier or higher to come over and hang out with us in our private Discord. Right below me will be the live stream where I unbox this printer, ride the struggle bus, and a lot of people laugh at me. Maybe you'll enjoy that kind of thing. And right next to that will be the entire printer maintenance series, a series that even I've had to go back and revisit as I'm trying to figure out what the actual heck is wrong with this machine. I'll see you guys down in those comments and in the next one. Take care.